Thank you so much for joining us. I've got a good friend of mine that I've known for decades. This is Mr. Kurt Mortensen. He is a world-renowned author, lecturer. He's taught all over the world on influence and sales. How do you increase sales? How do you increase influence? And his topic today is going to be basically how to be an influencer. Now, every one of you in this class are an influencer. You're either an influencer for good or for bad. Now, if you don't say something to somebody, if you don't have a way to help somebody, you're not helping. So you're really, it's not neutral. It's kind of bad because you missed the opportunity to do it. So either you're influencing for good or bad. And all of us are influencing. And if your kids just watch you, you're influencing. It's not what you say, it's what you do. And my dad was wonderful at this. We always had chats when I had questions, but I watched what he did. And then the biggest thing was he did it together with me. When I was a teenager, I had an investment account. We were buying stocks. I can remember laying on the floor with the newspaper looking at stocks when I was a teenager. I was investing in financing cars for people if they wanted to buy a car and didn't have the ability to go get that car. And my dad taught me a lot of lessons. He says, if you finance a car, if it's a good car and it runs and you take care of the people, they will pay you. If you sell them junk, they're not going to pay you and you don't deserve to get paid. So these are things that I learned from my dad and mom and many great, wonderful mentors like Bob Allen. And you know what? You're learning from everybody. I learned so much from Kurt. I can't tell him that because then they'll, but actually, I've learned a ton from Kurt, and mostly by what he does and just watching him. So all of you are an influence for good. And how do you do that? Kurt's going to tell us that. And then once you do influencing, then you can do connecting. You can start connecting the right people together. And then the other one is basically a sneezer. So when you talk, more people listen to you. That's how you turn the world for good. Kurt, I'm going to turn it over to you. He's the best-selling author of many books, including Maximum Influence and a whole bunch of books on sales. And I just want to thank Kurt so much because, guys, this foundation wouldn't be here if it wouldn't have been for Kurt. He is a whiz at being able to help take all this digital materials, because back in the day when we were doing stuff, digital wasn't really around like it is today. And we have all these wonderful CDs and tapes and stuff like that, and books that we've been able to create to put them online so that anyone can have access to them. So Kurt, I'm going to turn it over to you. Take it away.
All right. Thanks, Tom. Good to be here. Welcome, everybody. As we learn the skills that you should have learned in school to be, as Tom's talking about, be a connector, to be an influencer, to do that side hustle, and be an entrepreneur. I love working with entrepreneurs because they have that passion. They want more. They want to change the world. They want to do better. But then a lot of challenges, they just don't have the skills. I was instructing a group of martial arts, right? The studio owners, they were in martial arts, karate, that type of thing. And their businesses weren't doing well. They were very good at martial arts and karate. They were black belts. They were good. They had competence. With what they were doing, they just didn't have the skills to connect, to market, to sell. That's a critical skill. You could be the best painter in the world, the best digital artist. You could be the best cook. You could be the best photographer. But if people don't know about you, if you can't connect, if you can't sell them, it doesn't matter. So let's talk about a fundamental skill that is going to be huge for you to be a connector. Now, I put my formula up here. In fact, I'm going to put it here in text so you can take a look at it. This is based on my research and other research I've averaged together, but here's the big three, and we're going to talk about one of these, okay? So the first one I've talked about before is you have to identify what's in it for them, right? That's what Tom calls the big problem. You got to solve their problem. You're a problem solver. So what's in it for them? We've talked about that one. And if they like you, that's what we'll be talking about today, being more likable, and they trust you, you have an 88% chance of influencing or selling them. You catch that? That's a huge number. When you have a way to solve their problem, what's in it for them, they like you and trust you, 88% chance. Big three here. We talk about ones to work on, and that's huge. The people you like, when they do something dumb, you're pretty forgiving. But the person you don't like, they do the same thing, boom, you attack them. People skills, being likable, developing rapport, a big part of everything that's been talked about today. Sneezing, connecting, influencing, selling. This is a huge piece that we need to address, because let's not sugarcoat that. You know, that annoying person that you know that's kind of annoying, they irritate you, they're not funny, you don't like to be around. You know that annoying person that nobody likes? You know who I'm talking about? That could be you. That is you. You are an annoying person. I'm an annoying person. You see, we can get along with people that are like us. That's easy. But if you truly want to be a leader, an influencer, you have to get along and connect with everyone. That's the key. You're an annoying person too, but how do you not become irritating, annoying to the people you don't understand? And that's the thing about leadership. You don't get to choose the people you lead. You have to lead everyone. That's why politicians aren't leaders, but that's a whole nother study. So let's talk about this likability. I mean, some people you just meet, you like them. Let's do business. Let's talk. Other people you meet, you're like, oh, ew. You feel like taking a shower. Okay. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for that. How do you become more likable? We do business with people we like. We buy from people we like. And if you look at successful people, millionaires, they know more people. They have more friends. They can put people together. They just do it because they become more likable, or they have something that people want. There's just something about that. So let's dive into this likability factor here. And I'm going to give you a few things that'll make a big difference. How do you connect with people? How do you become more likable? Let's get into it. So the first one, short term, because you've heard first impressions, the cement dries fast. People, your brain cannot not judge somebody. When you meet someone for the first time, your brain is judging them. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just how our brain is. That's how we've survived over the years. And so the way you approach somebody, the way you talk to somebody, and basically your appearance is the first one. How you look. So number one, appearance. The way you walk into a room. Are you walking into a room more confident? Can you be more confident? Are you looking in their eyes? Are your shoulders squared up to them? Your feet pointing towards them? Right? Your appearance. People judge you how you look. That's how it is. Even physical appearance. Most CEOs are taller than average. Not fair, but there's something about height. People judge you on your weight. People look at your hair. It's just how it is. When someone approaches you, do you make them feel comfortable? Do you give them that eye contact? Do you take care of yourself? Do you take care of your appearance? There's two parts to this. Your physical appearance, how you look, right? And that varies by culture and the clothes that you wear. Some colors are more credible than others. It's interesting. Darker colors and lighter colors are more credible. Kind of like what I'm wearing now is something that you could wear, but your appearance. In fact, an interesting study where you work, if you want to get promoted to the department above you, you start wearing what they're wearing up there. It's interesting, as you go up the organization, people dress a little nicer. If you want to get promoted up, you start wearing what they're wearing up. So be aware, people do judge. Well, they shouldn't. Okay, they do. You cannot not judge on your appearance, physical appearance, your clothing, the way you walk into a room with your confidence. Are you looking them in the eyes? Are you smiling? Are all part of that package. That's something we don't think about sometimes. Well, it shouldn't be important. It is. So such a simple thing that we think about when you're meeting someone for the first time. How are you coming across? How do you look? How are you dressing? How are you walking into the room or to the restaurant is a big part of that. So that's the first one. Happens within 30 seconds. Are you doing the right triggers? We call those subconscious triggers. So that's the first one. Second one is what sparks a relationship is, and you can't have a relationship start without this, is you have to find something similar to them, similarities. You think about it, when you go on a date, meet someone for the first time, that conversation is finding something in common. That's what sparks the fire of the relationship. And it can be anything from a similar sports team to where you went to college, to where you work, being on the same team. Smokers hang out with other smokers, liking the same TV show. You have to find something, anything in common. Now, some people it's harder than others. I know that. Some people you have to really stretch. Oh, we're both human. We both breathe air. We both like money. Hopefully you don't have to stretch that far, but find something that you have in common, that maybe it's their passion for investing. It's their passion for children. Now, do be careful here. Sports teams can have the opposite. If they like the opposite political party of you or the opposite sports team of you, that can hurt the relationship. I mean, you think, well, that's silly. It is. But I've seen around the world that if someone likes the team that you hate the most, let's say it's a soccer or a football team, that hurts the relationship for some people. I know it's crazy, but be careful. The opposite's true. So find something in common in the first couple of minutes, something that you can connect with. Similarities. There's just something about finding that thing in common. We like to buy with people that are like us, that are similar to us. In fact, I was coaching an executive trying to influence up, and I said, you've got to spark it with a similarity. So how do I do that? I'm like, find something you have in common. They found it was a TV show. I don't know if you've heard about it. It was Dancing with the Stars. And they just started talking about it. Oh, they kicked off Frank last night, and that sparked the relationship, just a little something. Now, 2 rules with this that is very important. It needs to be something relevant to them, meaning if you say, well, you're a Gemini, I'm a Gemini too, and they don't care about that, not going to help out. So something that they care about. And the second one has to be something positive. You don't want to say, really, you're a convicted felon too? You've been spent time in jail? So have I. Not good. Something positive. You're bankrupt too? No, those aren't things that you want to talk about. All right, similarities. Now the third one, and we can all work on this. Nobody has arrived in their people skills and their connectivity and working. We are working with them. Because with influence and persuasion and sales, we teach that you need to persuade people how they want to be persuaded, adapt to their style, their personality, their culture, even their age. That's key to connecting, to connect with them, their beliefs, their styles, their background, their personality. That's a game changer for people that are connecting, that are influencing. So the third one, people skills. You probably heard of Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I think it sold 100 million copies, just basic, being more likable. So let's talk about this as a group. Give me some things in chat. What makes somebody more likable? What is a good people skill that we can practice, that we can put in our toolbox to become a better connector, to be likable? This is huge. We do business with people we like. We hang out with people we like. All right, let's see. We have, let's talk about some of these. Humor. I think we all spell it differently, but we'll go with that. Empathy. Let's talk about that. Let's see what else we have. Personable, being likable. I'll just say with that, personal is good manners. Any others? Give me some more. Let's talk about some of these. I spent 2 months looking at the correlation of humor, likability, and influence. Bigger than we ever thought. When you get someone to laugh or smile, which in today's world is so important, because we go like, oh, well, COVID and wars and inflation, people get down. But if you get them to laugh or smile, instant connection. If you know the science, it actually releases oxytocin in your brain, which is the trust chemical. You are more, they trust you more, they like you more by a simple laugh. Okay, so I'm listening here. So humor, and anybody, you can borrow a comic, you can borrow humor. I have a joke list that I keep that I use. So it could be a funny video, a social media, something. You can add that, just a laugh, a smile, a joke. Anybody can improve here. You talk about instant connection, a smile, a smile. So empathy, being empathetic. Guys are a lot better at being empathetic than women are. I'm kidding. We're terrible with guys. Guys, we're usually terrible at this one. But just emotional intelligence, feeling the empathy, they know that you care, that you're trying to help them solve a problem is huge, right? Really taking time to do that. Now, part of that is this one down here that someone mentioned is listening. You want people to like you? Listen. Now, pausing to before you reply is not listening. You're listening with your ears, your eyes, and your heart. Let me just tell you this. I was on an airplane flight from New York City, JFK, to Los Angeles, where I was living at the time. It's a long flight. And I was sitting next to this guy, and I think I have a sign on my head that says, "Hi, tell me your life story." And this guy did. He told me his whole life story. And we talked and talked. And when we landed, he said something interesting. He said, "Kurt, you're one of the most interesting people I've ever met." I'm like, "You don't even know me. You talk the whole time." He said, "Oh, this is the best conversation I've had in years." And we actually did some business together. It actually worked out just by listening. That's such an easy one that we all think at. In fact, great influencers, persuaders, listen 3 times more. They ask more questions. They truly care. We can all work on that one. And the big challenge with listening right now is there's a new word called the phubbing. If you want me to put that in here, here's the word. It's the new word of the day. Oh, spelled it wrong. Let me get it right. It's phone snubbing. So if you're meeting someone for the first time, where's my phone? All right, this is what happens. You meet someone for the first time, good eye contact, you're talking, you're smiling, and your phone buzzes and you're like, you don't even think about it. That's a disconnect. They're not going to like you. You just showed them they're not important. Your phone's important. Hide it, turn it off. Don't bring it with you because you don't even think about it. Like, that's the big complaint right now, especially now, not you're a good friend, but maybe someone you meet the first time, it is very important. So that one too. Good manners, polite, respectful. I will add down here, being optimistic. We have enough negative people in our life. We all have an Aunt Edna. You know what I'm talking about. She comes to a family meal, a family gathering. She sits next to you. And she doesn't even talk to you, but she sucks the life out of you. Okay, so pessimistic, so negative. The world is terrible. We don't need that. Be optimistic. Things will work out. I mean, not the type of optimistic person that you want to hit. You know what I'm talking about? People are so optimistic that you're like, that's not even real. But good optimism. Now, understand, optimistic people live longer, make more money, have more friends, stay married longer. Just saying. True optimism is we're going to get there. Now, we might hit a brick wall. We might get in some road construction. We might have some car problems, but we're going to get there. That's the optimism that people want to embrace, to know that you are going to help solve their problem and get there. Let's see, any others? Toxic positivity is my brother. Yeah, thanks, Jacob. That's good. It is. It's like, what? It's too positive, or it's beautiful. It's wonder. There's nothing wrong in the world. You're like, I think there is a few things we could fix here. So others you want to put out there? There's a lot more. Let's do, I mentioned this one earlier, a smile. How much does that cost? It's free, below, free. You have one, use it. We talk about the science. When you smile, it's contagious. It releases that oxytocin in the brain to make you more likable. In sales, Retail sales, a smile increases sales 20%. In customer service, smiling over the phone helps the evaluations over the phone. Over the phone, smiling over the phone. It's real. We have one. We should use it. It's contagious. It depends on the situation and the culture, obviously, but that is something how to do that. Virginia's right. Being attentive when you're listening, part of that is your eye contact. Not looking away. Now let's talk about eye contact. Careful here. This varies by culture too. If you're looking at someone 100% of the time, if you're staring at them, right? It's either you're angry or falling in love. And that's probably not what you're looking for to be a connector and influencer. 70% is about average around the world. You don't want to stare at them. And again, it does vary by culture, but we want your eyes. We want your eyes. And that's part of human nature. You're treating that person right now as the most important person in the world. When that happens, they like you. They feel like you understand them, that you can go through, you can work with them. What are some other people skills that you can think of? Any others? Good old-fashioned people skills. Other thoughts? Smile, eyes, listen, manners, empathy. These are some big ones. Using a person's name. Now, that's not a function of memory. It's a function of listening. If you can listen and write down their name, remember their name, and repeat their name. Let me just tell you the science here. When you say someone's name, it actually triggers a pleasure center in their brain and they like you more just by saying their name over the phone, face to face. Such a simple one. Such a simple one is to remember their name. And something also that makes a huge difference that I've noticed, and this takes seconds, but the impact lasts a lifetime. If you are scheduling a second meeting, say 3 weeks later, in your calendar, write something about that conversation that you want to bring up next time. First of all, write down their name, maybe what they look like. But if you can say something like, hey, Frank, last time we talked, you said your son was in that championship soccer game. How did that go? Hey, you told me you were taking a trip to Paris, whatever, fill in the blank. How'd that trip go for you? Take seconds. If you could write down a little something to bring up next time that you truly listened the first time, takes you seconds, but the impact is huge. Hey, you said your wife was a little ill last time. She better? Things going all right? Little things like that can go a long, long way. So those are some skills that you you could work through. A name such a simple one, then remember about something about last time that you have talked about. Should we do more? Anybody else have any other ones? Let's see. All right, Jake, confidence. So we talked about good eye contact, the way you walk in the room. Absolutely. We got to be careful with that when we get into trust. That could come across as arrogant sometimes. We'll give you some tools to handle that. You know, time management is always an important technique to work through. Others you're going to hear too is EQ, which is your emotional intelligence, reading other people's emotions, adapting to other people's emotions. Those are things that make a big difference. Humor we talked about. Now, some other interesting ones that can help or hurt is, and this varies by culture, is touch. Now we had COVID in the world. You've heard of COVID, I think it's out there. It's changed it a little bit. Let me just share some research with you. Waiters and waitresses that touch in safe places get higher tips. People that sell clothes that touched sold more. People being evaluated, they touched them on the hand, they got better evaluations. There is something about touch, but there's the negative side too. With COVID, people don't touch as much, but there's still something, some people don't hug, some people don't touch, but when it works, it works. But let me just share something with you. A study, a bad handshake, and handshakes are pretty much universal around the world. A bad one sets you back 1 hour in building rapport and connecting with that person. You lose an hour with a bad handshake. And you've had them before where you're like, oh, right? Where they're sweaty, too cold, too many pumps. You're like, okay, dude, give me it back. Or the politician double grip, those type of things. A good handshake is eyes, shoulders, couple pumps. You kind of mirror their strength. But it's different now. One tip with COVID I noticed around the world is sometimes we do a little dance when we meet somebody. Are we shaking hands? Are we bumping? We hugging? We doing nothing? And we're doing this little thing. I would recommend when you meet someone for the first time, especially somebody that maybe is an authority, wait to see what they're going to do. You have a half second to see if they're going to come up like this, do nothing. Maybe they're coming in for a hug, depending on how well you know them and the culture, but that's part of it too. So be aware of that. Touch can help, it can hurt too. Spatial relationships, we call it proxemics, to where how close you stand to somebody. Sitting at a slight angle for men is less confrontational. So even the touching something on their desk is not a good thing. So there's something about space. But the final one I want to talk about that's interesting is the scientific term's isopraxism, but you've probably heard the term mirror and matching. This really, under the radar, subconsciously connects you with people. You watch two people at a gathering that have connected, that have rapport, and they're physically mirroring each other. They might be leaning to the same side, taking a drink at the same time. Their breathing actually synchronizes. Their rate of speech synchronizes. The world blurs around them, and it's just them. And what the science is showing is you can accelerate rapport by mirror and matching them. Now, I don't want you to mimic them. Now, if they lean back in their chair and you lean back at the same time, you're going to freak them out. And I don't even like the term mirror and matching. I like the term delayed similar response, meaning it doesn't have to be the exact same time. It doesn't have to be exactly the same, just a delayed similar response or action. And there's a couple ways to look at this. In fact, a college professor's like, wait a minute, does this really work? So she went to different restaurants, would pick someone about 10 feet away and start to mirror them. They take a bite, she would take a bite. They take a drink, she'd take a drink. And ultimately, the person would come over and say, do I know you? You seem very familiar to me. So you mirror their gestures. Not exactly. If they fold their arms, maybe you put them in your lap. If they lean all the way back, you lean halfway back. If they're leaning, you can do a slight lean too. And this has to be invisible to the radar. I'm telling you, it works. Try it out. So the first one is body language. The second one is energy. If you're up here and they're down here, you're like, it's a great day, things are awesome. No, mirror their energy and bring them up. But if there's a disconnect, that could be part of it. I would even do word choice. If they keep bringing up the same phrases and words, you start using those phrases and words. You notice when you get to different industries, they identify things different. Is it a truck? Is it a rig? Is it a semi? I mean, even within the different industries, they call it different things. So use their terminology also helps with the connection. I can spend all day on this, but you being more likable, reading people, treat them like the most important person on the earth, listening, eye contact, stuff you already know, but you're not doing. True influencers can sell anybody, can connect with anybody. Anybody can connect with people that have their same personality. Well, yeah, easy. But I'm talking about true future, true leadership, true connectivity is getting along. So we've talked about your appearance, both your clothes and physically. That is a true thing. I mean, we've noticed in the judicial system here in the United States that uglier convicts, people that get in trouble, they don't look so good, get longer prison sentences. College professors give better grades to better looking students. It's proven. I'm not saying it's fair, but look good, dress up, walking more confident, find something that's similar, connect with that, work on your people skills, and then, as we talked about a few weeks ago, put them in your list of contacts and contact them at least once, twice a year. Influence them what you need to influence them. Keep that relationship lifelong. The more people you know, the easier it is to become successful at what you are doing. So any questions on that? Questions, comments, rude remarks? We take them all here.
I just want to comment on what you've been talking about a little bit, Kurt. kind of a big thing that's helping me a lot is putting myself into their shoes, seeing it from their side. Go over on the other side and see how they're doing. People make, I've got 2 special needs children, and my special needs son does some things that I wonder what he's doing, what's he seeing, what's he thinking. And I'm just saying I've really expanded that. So whenever I'm talking to somebody or trying to help somebody, one of the things I try to do is go over on the other side of the table and try and understand it from their side. And the more that I can understand it from their side, the more that I can help create solutions, or at least come up with some ideas on how to solve whatever their issue they're having. Because the real influencers, the people that are the most successful are the ones that really give people, understand them, figure out what they need, and come up with some interesting solutions to help them do it, and then encourage them to do it. So that's why you'll notice that so many of the things that we're doing at the foundation, and as you can tell, we're just getting started. We're just getting started in the foundation. This is something that's going to be pretty amazing. We're going to look back on this in 5 years or 10 years from now and just be totally amazed on what we've been able to pull off. So, Kurt, any last comments on influencing?
No, you're right on. If you could get in their shoes, especially in negotiation, understand where they're coming from. Why do they think that way? I think everyone realizes we're all different. We think differently. Men and women think differently, different personalities. And if you can get in their shoes and where did that come from? What's their intent? Why would they say that? That just opens up your world to understand them. Once you understand them and they feel understood, they're going to like you more. And it opens the doors to be an influencer and to sell them and to do whatever you want them to do. I mean, the key is with influence and sales is to get other people to want to do what you want them to do and like doing it, and then tell other people about it. I mean, that's the type of influencer we want to be, to where well, this is great. This is a no-brainer. Let's do it. It takes some practice. Now, all of us can work on this. If you say, no, I'm good. No. This is something we can all work on to connect, to adapt to more people, style, personalities, cultures. That's the key to connecting.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Kurt. And again, I want to thank Kurt so much for being a big player in helping get this foundation. He's on our board of advisors. He's helped me through all these years of digging this out. And right now in his garage, there's all kinds of boxes with old classes that are on DVD and stuff like that, CDs that we got to figure out what to do with. But guys, the foundation stuff wouldn't be here without Kurt. So I just want to thank him so much. And we're going to say goodbye to everybody from around the world. We're going to come back for our last small segment, and we're going to give some money away for you to put in your investment accounts. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you back here